Unleashing your unlimited potential, the journey from fear to wisdom and beyond. Welcome to the BlackCEO Podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of extraordinary individuals who are reshaping our world. Today, we're embarking on a transformative journey that will challenge your perceptions, ignite your potential, and maybe even change your life. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Tina Thompson, a visionary leader whose insights have the power to revolutionize the way we think about fear, wisdom, and human potential. Tina's impact on making the world a better place is nothing short of phenomenal, and I'm thrilled to share the invaluable lessons I gleaned from our conversation. Imagine for a moment what your life would look like if you truly believed you could accomplish anything you set your mind to. Not in some vague motivational poster kind of way, but with a bone-deep conviction that your potential is limitless. It's a powerful thought, isn't it? One that has the potential to shatter the glass ceilings we've built in our own minds. But before we dive into that exhilarating possibility, let's take a moment to consider a concept that's been echoing through the halls of human wisdom for centuries. Fear is the beginning of wisdom. It's a phrase that's been uttered by philosophers, spiritual leaders, and probably your well-meaning aunt at some point. And on the surface, it makes sense. After all, fear can be a great teacher. It can keep us from touching hot stoves, walking down dark alleys, or investing our life savings in cryptocurrency based on a tip from a guy named Sketchy Steve. But here's where things get interesting, folks. While fear might indeed be the starting point of wisdom, Tina Thompson challenges us to see it not as the final destination, but as the launch pad for something far greater. She posits that although fear may be the beginning of wisdom, we must dare to believe that we can do anything possible if we put our minds to it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Anything possible? That sounds like the kind of thing you'd find written in glitter on a middle schooler's notebook. But stick with me, because there's more to this idea than meets the eye. Tina's approach isn't about ignoring reality or pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about understanding the complex dance between fear, wisdom, and untapped potential. It's about recognizing that while fear might be our brain's way of keeping us safe, it can also be the chains that keep us from soaring. Let's break this down, shall we? Fear, at its core, is a survival mechanism. It's that little voice in your head that says, maybe don't pet that growling dog, or perhaps texting while driving isn't the best idea. And in many situations, that voice is incredibly useful. It keeps us alive. It keeps us from making catastrophic mistakes. And it occasionally prevents us from wearing that outfit we thought was a good idea at 2 a.m. But fear has a darker side too. It can become a prison, holding us back from experiences, opportunities, and growth that could transform our lives. It's the voice that whispers, you're not good enough, you'll fail, or who do you think you are to even try? And let me tell you, that voice can be louder than a heavy metal concert in a thunderstorm. This is where wisdom comes into play. True wisdom isn't just about recognizing danger. It's about discerning between real threats and imagined ones. It's about understanding when fear is protecting us and when it's limiting us. And this is where Tina's challenge becomes so powerful. She's asking us to push beyond that initial fear response and tap into a deeper well of potential. But how do we do that? How do we move from fear to wisdom to unlimited potential? Well, buckle up, because Tina shared some powerful strategies that I'm excited to explore with you today. First up, we need to acknowledge our fears. Now, I know what you're thinking. Acknowledge my fears? I thought the goal was to overcome them. But hear me out. By recognizing and naming our fears, we take away some of their power. We bring them out of the shadows and into the light where we can examine them more closely. It's like turning on the lights and realizing that the monster under your bed is actually just a pile of laundry you've been avoiding for weeks. Tina shared a personal example that really brings this point home. She had always been terrified of public speaking. The mere thought of standing in front of a crowd made her palms sweat more than a snowman in a sauna. But instead of avoiding speaking opportunities, she decided to face her fear head on. She joined a local Toastmasters group and committed to giving a speech every month. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. At first, it was about as comfortable as wearing wool underwear in the Sahara. She stumbled over her words, forgot her points, and felt like she was making a fool of herself. But something interesting happened as she persisted. With each speech, the fear became a little less overwhelming. She started to recognize the physical symptoms of her anxiety and learn techniques to manage them. Over time, public speaking transformed from a source of terror into a challenge she looked forward to. This story illustrates an important point. Facing our fears doesn't always mean conquering them immediately. It's a process, often a long and uncomfortable one. But by consistently challenging ourselves, we expand our comfort zone and discover capabilities we never knew we had. It's like muscle growth for your courage. The second strategy Tina shared is about reframing our relationship with failure. Many of us grew up with the idea that failure is something to be avoided at all costs. We're taught that success is the goal and anything less is unacceptable. But this mindset can be incredibly limiting. It can prevent us from taking risks, trying new things, and ultimately reaching our full potential. It's like refusing to learn to ride a bike because you're afraid of falling off. Tina suggests a different approach. Instead of seeing failure as the opposite of success, we should view it as a necessary step on the path to success. Every failure is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to refine our approach. This shift in perspective can be incredibly liberating. It allows us to take risks without the paralyzing fear of failure holding us back. Let me share another story from Tina's life that illustrates this point beautifully. Early in her career, Tina applied for a promotion she really wanted. She spent weeks preparing for the interview, researching the company, and practicing her responses. She was so prepared, she could have recited the company's mission statement backwards while juggling flaming torches. But when the day came, she didn't get the job. She was devastated. However, instead of letting this setback define her, Tina chose to see it as a learning opportunity. She asked for feedback from the hiring manager and discovered areas where she could improve. She used this information to work on her skills and build her experience. A year later, when another opportunity came up, she was much better prepared. Not only did she get the job, but she excelled in the role in ways she never would have if she hadn't learned from her initial failure. This story teaches us an important lesson. Our failures don't define us unless we let them. By reframing failure as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. It's like turning every no into a not yet. The third strategy Tina shared is about the power of incremental progress. Often when we think about achieving our goals or overcoming our fears, we imagine it happening in one dramatic moment. We want to go from being afraid of heights to skydiving, or from being a novice writer to publishing a bestseller. But real lasting change usually doesn't happen that way. It's not about going from zero to hero overnight. It's about becoming 1% better every day. Tina advocates for what she calls the 1% better approach. The idea is simple. Focus on getting just 1% better each day. It might not seem like much, but over time, these small improvements compound into significant change. It's like the old saying about eating an elephant one bite at a time, except in this case, the elephant is your goals and the bites are tiny improvements. Tina shared a personal example of how she used this approach to transform her health. She had always struggled with maintaining a consistent exercise routine. The thought of committing to an hour at the gym every day was more overwhelming than trying to understand the plot of a Christopher Nolan movie on the first viewing. So instead, she started with just 5 minutes of exercise a day. Seemed almost too easy, but she stuck with it. After a week, she increased it to 7 minutes, then 10. Each time she felt comfortable with her current routine, she added a little more. Within a year, she was regularly exercising for 45 minutes a day and feeling healthier than she ever had before. She went from barely being able to run for a bus to considering training for a marathon. This approach works because it makes change manageable. It breaks down big, scary goals into small, achievable steps. And each small success builds our confidence and motivation to keep going. It's like building a skyscraper one brick at a time. Each brick might not seem like much, but before you know it, you're standing at the top of a towering achievement. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but how does it relate to the idea that we can do anything we put our minds to? And that's a fair question. The key lies in understanding that this belief isn't about instant transformation or magical thinking. It's not about waking up one day and suddenly being able to fly or speak fluent Klingon. It's about recognizing our own potential for growth and change. When we combine these strategies Acknowledging our fears, reframing failure, and focusing on incremental progress, we create a powerful framework for personal growth. We start to see that our current limitations aren't fixed, they're flexible, and with consistent effort and the right mindset, we can push past them. It's like realizing that the walls of your comfort zone are made of rubber, not concrete. This brings us to perhaps the most important insight Tina shared, the concept of self belief. She emphasized that believing in our ability to grow and change is crucial. Without this belief, all the strategies in the world won't make a difference. We need to cultivate a mindset that says, I may not be able to do this yet, but I can learn. It's about seeing yourself not as a finished product, but as a work in progress with unlimited potential. Tina's own journey is a testament to the power of this belief. She shared how she went from being a shy, insecure teenager to becoming a successful entrepreneur and public speaker. It wasn't an overnight transformation, it was a series of small steps, each building on the last. But underlying all of those steps was a fundamental belief in her ability to grow and change. She went from being the girl who was afraid to raise her hand in class to the woman who confidently addresses thousands. So, how can we cultivate this kind of self belief? Tina suggests several strategies. First, we need to be mindful of our self talk. The way we speak to ourselves has a profound impact on our beliefs and actions. Instead of saying, I can't do this, try saying, I'm learning to do this. It's a small change, but it opens up a world of possibility. It's like changing the soundtrack of your life from a sad trombone to an epic movie score. Second, we need to surround ourselves with supportive people. The people we spend time with have a huge influence on our beliefs and attitudes. Seek out individuals who believe in your potential and encourage your growth. Their positivity can be contagious and help reinforce your own self belief. It's like creating your own personal cheer squad, minus the pom poms, unless you're into that sort of thing. Third, we need to celebrate our successes, no matter how small. Every time we face a fear, learn from a failure, or make even a 1% improvement, we should acknowledge it. These celebrations reinforce our belief in our ability to grow and change. It's like giving yourself a high five for every step forward, no matter how small. As we wrap up, I want to circle back to the question we started with. What would happen if you dared to believe that you could do anything you set your mind to? After my conversation with Tina, I believe the answer is this: you would transform your life. You would start to see obstacles as challenges to overcome rather than insurmountable barriers. You would approach failure with curiosity rather than fear. You would recognize that every small step forward is progress, and you would celebrate that progress. Most importantly, you would start to unlock potential within yourself that you never knew existed. Now, this doesn't mean that everything will suddenly become easy. Challenges will still exist, fears will still arise, failures will still happen. But your relationship with these experiences will change. Instead of being paralyzed by them, you'll be energized by them. You'll see them as opportunities for growth rather than reasons to give up. It's like turning every mountain into a chance to enjoy the view from the top. Tina's insights remind us that while fear may indeed be the beginning of wisdom, it shouldn't be the end of our journey. True wisdom comes from pushing beyond that fear, challenging ourselves to grow, and daring to believe in our own potential. It's about recognizing that the voice of fear is just one voice in our head, and we have the power to turn up the volume on the voice that says, You've got this. So, here's my challenge to you. Over the next week, I want you to identify one thing you've been afraid to try. It could be something small, like striking up a conversation with a stranger, or something bigger, like applying for a job you think is out of your league. Whatever it is, I want you to take one small step towards facing that fear. Remember, you don't have to conquer it all at once. Just aim for that 1% improvement. Maybe it's just researching the thing you're afraid of or talking to someone who's done it before. Whatever step you choose, take it with the belief that you are capable of growth and change. As you do this, keep Tina's words in mind. Although fear is the beginning of wisdom, we must challenge ourselves to believe that we can do anything possible if we put our minds to it. Embrace this belief and watch as it begins to transform your life. But don't stop there. I want you to take this message and spread it. Share it with your friends, your family, your coworkers. Be the person who encourages others to believe in their potential. Because when we lift others up, we all rise together. And remember, every time you face a fear, every time you learn from a failure, every time you make even the smallest improvement, you're not just changing your own life. You're contributing to a world where more people believe in their ability to make a difference. You're part of a ripple effect that can change the world. So go out there and be brave, be curious, be persistent, but most of all, believe in yourself and your unlimited potential, because when you do, you'll discover that the only limits that truly exist are the ones we place on ourselves. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Remember, your potential is limitless. The only question is, what incredible things will you do with it? Now go out there and show the world what you're capable of. The stage is yours and the spotlight is waiting. It's time to shine